We do not lack for good ideas. We do not lack for tragedies. The failure of Congress, however, the United States Congress, to act on passing smart gun safety laws is the issue. So when elected, I'll give the United States Congress 100 days to pull their act together on this and put a bill on my desk for signature. And if they do not, I am prepared to take executive action to, one, put in place a comprehensive background check requirement, two, put the resources into the ATF to take the licenses from gun dealers who violate the law, and three, to ban the importation of assault weapons.
So just to be precise, you want to give Congress 100 days and then take executive action. Some people say, you know what, Congress, given the 60 votes needed in the Senate, not going to do it. Why not take executive action on day one?
Well, I believe in giving people a chance, especially when they know what's coming if they don't act. But the other piece of my focus on this is, as you said, it's about dealing with the white supremacist issue that we have and the domestic terrorism that is resulting from it.
Because people are going to be killed in those first 100 days.
Well, there's no question we need to act immediately. So, and the failure of Congress to act over these decades is also a point that you should make in terms of what we're seeing now and what we've been seeing from.
And there we have it, Senator Harris, who, if elected, will take your guns. Let's face it. Despite the provocative rhetoric from Democrats, despite everything else, are they really going to take your guns? Are they really going to have the constitutional authority to do it? Well, if they get their way, they would like to see that. They would like to see people be disarmed. And really, does disarming Americans really keep us safe? Does that equate to greater safety? Good morning, Kevin Miller with you here, KIDO Talk Radio. We'll talk a little bit about that in the aftermath of the Philadelphia shootings. Again, greater calls for gun control, greater calls to make sure that people are, in fact, kept safe through gun-free zones. Does that really make a difference? You know, we've had this conversation again and again and again, and we have police officers who bravely go and put their lives on the line, whether it's in Philadelphia or those brave officers in California. When will the liberals get that disarming Americans is not going to keep us safer? Unfortunately, unless you can find the criminal gene that, or you're going to go back in time and do the Tom Cruise movie Minority Report, precog, and there'll be no due process. You cannot rid law-abiding Americans of their guns.
He is identified as Maurice Hill by an attorney who had previous relationship with him. He knew him. This attorney says he worked with him in previous cases. This attorney was part of a 4-person negotiation team to try and get this alleged suspect to surrender. Moments before he surrendered, police actually fired tear gas into this home. So it was the combination of the negotiations and the tear gas that went into this home, and that is what ultimately led this person to surrender. Police were giving him, we understand, until 11:45 to come out of that house.
And there we have it. Now you're going to have, again, more and more people saying that we need gun confiscation. How about some sanity? How about taking a deep breath? And yet you have a major presidential candidate, a former attorney general, a current senator from California saying that she's going to take your guns. Right? And the media, the irresponsible media, goes on and on. Let's take a listen.
Presidential candidate Senator Kamala Harris released a detailed plan to expand gun background checks, fight white supremacy, and disarm domestic terrorists. Senator Harris, who serves on both the Judiciary and Intelligence Committees, is joining us here in the Situation Room. Very disturbing development indeed. You're former Attorney General of California. What's your reaction to these initial reports? And I stress the word initial reports.
Well, it's just, when will it stop, right? I mean, part of my focus on what we need to do around smart gun safety laws is recognize that we have to have more enforcement around gun dealers.
As you said several times, and it bears repeating, I think, this is an active situation. We don't know how this is going to end, and more importantly, we don't know what it's all about, but it's an active situation, and unfortunately, I don't want to say it's the new normal, but it is this kind of situation where you have an active shooter is coming across our phones and coming across the phones and you know, bulletin alerts of people all across the country very, very frequently, which is why here in Washington, there has been a renewed discussion about whether or not finally the Republican and Democratic Party can come together and figure out ways to stop this, whether it is gun control, any form of gun control or other means. Unfortunately, these stories are continuing, and it's happening as we speak.
Several police officers apparently in Philadelphia have been shot. Jackie Alemany, is there really some significant hope that the House and the Senate, Democrats and Republicans, will now work together with the president and come up with some new gun control regulations?
There we have it. Thanks to our friends at Newsbusters. Let's have you join the conversation now. Pete, good morning.
Good morning, Kevin. I'd like to point out that all three of the recent mass killers, the one in Gilroy, California, El Paso, and the one in Dayton, all passed background checks, got their guns legally after passing background checks. So I'd like to know what more background checks would do to help the issue, since obviously the ones we have, maybe we got to have real background checks or something and look into what they did when they were 3. And then I'd also like to point out that most of the killing in America is taking place in Democrat-run cities. Baltimore, Chicago, all those wonderful places the Democrats have run for 75 years. So I have a proposal that would really do something to stop all the killing in America, or at least a lot of it. Ban all Democrats from owning guns. Anyone who's been a registered Democrat over the last 20 years, we should go into their house without any search warrant and take any guns that they have anywhere in their house, and then they can't have guns anymore. And I think that would lower the murder rate quite a bit. What do you think?
I like it. I like the idea.
Because, they don't like guns, right? The Democrats are the ones calling for gun bans. So
what concerns me, though, Pete, is Senator Harris saying that she's going to take the guns, and that's what she's saying.
Well,
without
she
Congress,
is,
without anything else.
It's good to see, though, that the Democrats are finally coming out of their secret little hidey hole closets where basically they want to be socialist dictators, all of them. They like Venezuela. They think what's going on in Venezuela is great because the dictators run things. And Venezuela, by the way, does have gun control. They took everybody's guns away back in 2012, and that certainly made it a lot safer for the rulers in Venezuela. And you look at the Democrat Party today, and they want to be dictators. They don't like the Constitution. They don't like the rule of law. They don't like us being a constitutional republic. They just want to run stuff.
Well, the president has changed the dynamic forever.
Oh, yeah. And
they're scared because they thought that they had it, Pete. They thought that they had us, and it's not over yet. But the president could, in fact, you got these guys cheering for the end of the economy. They got them taking our guns, vilifying traditional America that gave them the greatest land of opportunity.
And have you noticed that now that Bob Mueller is gone, I mean, we never hear anything about Bob anymore. And Epstein he had broken bones in his throat, but that could happen from suicide. Yeah, right. So now it's the economy. Now, recession. And if you would like to do the math, a drop of 800 points in the Dow from 26,000, that's 3%. That's really not even statistically significant. But all you hear on the news now is, recession, because they really want a recession. They want the economy to collapse. They want us to be miserable so that then they can come up and say, look, you're miserable, vote for us. Well, how'd that work with Obama with his 1% GDP being the new normal? And again, it goes back to power. That's all they care about. They don't care about America. They don't care about the poor. They've never helped the poor. They've never helped the blacks. All they've ever done is power. We got to have power. And excuse me, I just want to say that they're all Fredos to me. Oh, wait, was that racist?
Fredo? I know.
Fredo. They're all
Fredo. I know it was you.
It was badness. I'm sorry.
One of the classic movie lines of all time.
Yeah. Yeah, but you get right down to where the Democrats are, and where they are is they want ultimate power. They want to be like Stalin. They want to be like Mao Zedong. That's who they admire.
Well, no Mao with us.
Yeah,
Pete,
you got that right.
Watch out for the commies in Mountain Home. You're our first line of defense.
Well,
You're the tip of the spear.
we don't have much of an issue like that here. We're pretty much all deplorables over here.
You're the tip of the spear. Or you're our fallback, one or the other. So
Yeah. Yep.
Thank you, Pete. You take
Thank
care.
you, Kevin.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Brian in Nampa with Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Brian.
Hey, Kevin.
Hey,
Tell
Brian.
Pete if it gets that bad, I got his chicks. I'll bring my assault rifles.
We're all going to Pete's. Yep.
Yeah, we're going to Pete and back him up. Kamala Harris. Okay. We talked about this before, but I just got to reiterate this. This is the lady that bragged on national radio that she did marijuana.
Yep.
She can't legally own a gun in the United States because she admitted that, but she can run for president of the United States. Is that not what you would call an oxymoron? Number two,
Right.
She's a coward and a liar. And there's a reason I'm saying those two things. She has armed security around her 24/7. I would not be surprised if all those were semi-automatic, if not automatic weapons. So, lead from the front, Kamala Harris. If you're going to disarm America, disarm yourself. I think we should do more than what Pete said. If you're going to tell Americans, okay, you can't have guns if you smoke dope, then you can't be in public office, period. And number two, if you swore an oath to the Constitution of the United States, our founding fathers said that the militia was any male 16 to 45. I'm going to include females because we have changed and given blacks and Hispanics and females the same rights. Okay, you're supposed to be able to use a military weapon proficiently. If you cannot use a military weapon proficiently and know how to use it from our founding fathers, then you shouldn't be in public office. Those are my stipulations for anybody that runs in public office. And another thing for Kamala Harris, New Zealand, look what they did. Why doesn't anybody look up and see how well that ban is going? They're having a real hard time enforcing it. So, Kamala Harris, here's a little hint from a country boy in Idaho. If you think New Zealand's having a hard time, what do you think would happen in America? That's what I got, Kevin.
Brian, great call. Thank you.
You bet.
580-5436, 580-KIDO. Coming up next, Max from Garden City. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Back to your phone calls. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Max, good morning.
Good morning, buddy. You know, what we need to pay attention to in this gun control is the fact that the evidence shows it's not possible. Now, I spent 15 years in communist China, where supposedly a Nerf gun will get you in jail. Why is it that my ER was treating 5 to 7 gunshot wounds a week? It's because in America, when somebody kicks a puppy or shoots somebody, the news goes coast to coast. Every news outlet on the planet has it and shows it. Maybe, just maybe, we need to, I don't know, encapsulate our news sources so that we don't get flooded with the news every time someone gets shot. You can't take the guns away because it is a physical impossibility. Look at communist China. Chairman Mao took up all the guns. The police are constantly on patrol for guns. They're working hard. They are the toughest country in the world on guns. If my ER is treating 5 to 7 gunshot wounds a week, what is happening in Chengdu? 20 million people. Beijing, 25 million people. Shanghai, 36 million. What's happening? The gun violence is everywhere. You can't take guns away because people will hide them. They won't give them up. And if you go door to door beating people up, they'll do what they did in Benxi, and they'll shoot back. I mean, am I wrong here? Is there any mechanism you can think of by which they can get the guns out of the hands of the bad guys?
They seem to be willing to try.
And this is the problem. They want to try, but they're not looking. Their eyes are closed. They're not looking. Open your eyes, people, especially you there, Kamala Harris. It can't be done. There's no mechanism available to go to every single human being and take away their gun. Oh, by the way, something I wanted to mention. A friend of mine who's an epidemiologist said that if you look at all of these mass shooters going all the way back to Texas and the Bell Tower, you'll find that every single one is on psychotropic medication or has very recently crashed off of it. His group did a study, and every single one they could get information on, every single one, was on a psychotropic drug. Things like Zoloft, Xanax. Is that interesting?
Yet nobody talks about banning those drugs.
No, well, that's because it's a $300 billion a year industry. But the fact is, if every single shooter is on or has just been taken off of a psychotropic drug, these drugs break through the blood-brain barrier. They go right to the brain. They're specially designed, and they alter the chemistry in ways that we don't understand. I've had, Ritalin, for example. Good Lord, what a nightmare drug, and they're still administering it. The cases of violence from that, I'm talking about, I want to take something and go kill as many people as I can. That's what goes in the mind, because if they're not psychotic before you give them the drug, they will be psychotic once they're on the drug. And that's a medical fact. I challenge anybody to challenge me. It's sad, buddy. We pray for those people in Philadelphia and the police officers especially. We give our hearts and our thoughts and our meditation. But remember this. When you take away our guns, we're done for. That's all I have to say about that. On the lighter note, you're sounding good. I'd like to say you're looking good, but you never get back to me. Have a good one, Papa.
Traffic and weather together. Kevin Miller in the morning. And Kevin Miller in the morning here taking your calls about the issues that matter to you. Phone numbers 580-5436. 580-KIDO. I do want to remind you, coming up in a couple weeks, it is the Spirit of Boise Balloon Classic, brought to you by our friends at CapEd Credit Union. Speaking of CapEd Credit Union, we are once again getting ready to promote our schools, secure our future. And doing that, if you're new to the Treasure Valley, we go to area schools, charter schools, home schools, middle schools, public schools, private schools, parochial schools. You name the school, we go to it, primarily here in Ada and Canyon County. Looking forward to getting back out. We'd love to try to get to some new schools this year, plus a lot of our old favorites, whether it's our friends at Columbia or Bishop Kelly or Eagle High School, or some of our new schools that we've gone to as well. Our friends at Compass Charter School had a big groundbreaking, big grand opening of their new facility in Meridian, maybe going back to a few others like Gem Prep and others. And it would be nice to get back to Meridian as well. So if you are a person that is working in a school, about a school, we would love for you to invite us. Doesn't take much. You can just email me, Kevin at KIDOTalkRadio.com, Kevin at KIDOTalkRadio.com. And again, what we do is we profile the good news about education. We interview the students, the parents, the teachers. Sometimes we even get to hear what the band has to say. They do our music there at Eagle High School, and we so appreciate them as well. So promote our school, secure our future. Also, there's a link on our website on KIDOTalkRadio.com and the KIDO Talk Radio app. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Maggie. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. So we've got the new president of Boise State, Dr. Trump, making the rounds, talking to people, coming across as a very humble person and doing the diligence of someone wanting to be here, wanting to be accepted by the community, speaking to state legislators and the like. And that's a good thing, obviously. Of course, Dr. Kustra, he's a tough act to follow, right? And you take a look at Dr. Kustra and what he brought to Boise State, a very different world than what we see today. And this is where you, as a vibrant, dynamic part of the community, get a chance to weigh in with me on these issues pertaining to the future of the state of Idaho, the future of education, and the future of state universities. Now, you heard Maggie saying that everything is wonderful at Boise State. So many people are coming in. That would mean that there'd be I guess particularly from out of state, doing no part to the marketing through the football team and through the advancements that they've made and, updating and upgrading the academic facilities. However, it could be nice. And I was talking to somebody the other day, said, I don't know how you deal with politics and culture, Kevin Miller. I said, I don't know how somebody, God bless him, works in triple digits working on the streets or building homes. Now, I'm not comparing myself to those hardworking people or the people that are out in the cold or the people that deliver papers every morning. Man, that's a rough gig. Crazy people driving around all the time, but particularly in the mornings. People don't have their proper facilities, right? Their faculties. So, back to this issue involving the legislature and Dr. Trump. So Dr. Trump comes in. Some legislators have decided to, sign a letter. We're worried about what's going on at Boise State. Well, she addresses that, and we'll hear that report from Channel 6 coming up in a minute. But at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, there's some issues. And I know some Republicans are holding a town hall meeting, and like I said, you don't really need to hold a town hall meeting. You can just listen to this program. What are the big issues? Repealing the grocery tax. Number 2, figuring out a way where if you have paid off your home, or even if you haven't paid off your home, if you're over a certain age, you shouldn't be forced out of your home because the government wants more of your money if you're on fixed income. And third, I believe the liberal direction of state universities. And do they really reflect the values of the community? Or do we have, like in Star Wars, the Sith percolating within the belly of the beast, and we don't know they're here until they take us over? So let's take a look and listen to this report from Channel 6 and get your thoughts.
I really want to talk to these people so I can understand better what's at the heart of their concerns, and so that I can share with them things that I know and that we've learned at the university, and also give them a bigger picture.
In that letter, they criticized former Boise State interim president Martin Schimpf's efforts toward diversity, equality, and inclusion efforts, stating those efforts do not reflect Idaho values.
Our goal should be for higher education, but hopefully we're enticing students of all backgrounds to come because they want that great education.
A concern.
And let's just interrupt this for a minute. It's when you hear Dr. Trump and all these academics who've worked very hard to get their prestigious titles, when they say, I'm going to talk to them and make them understand. Well, I can say this, and I'm not a highfalutin person. The Attorney General of the United States singled out Boise State University, not Lewis and Clark, not Idaho State, not Idaho, as a place where conservative thought is under attack, under siege. That's an embarrassment. Now, if I were president of the university, that's the first thing that I would address. Free speech, free expression for all, not making Boise State an affiliate of Cal Berkeley. Right? Too many people coming in from the liberal states, too many people promoting their liberal agendas and having it percolating, not only in Idaho universities, but across the country, right? The libs. And if the libs want to play fair, that's great. However, the state lawmakers have a right to say, we're not funding this. We're not talking about segregated graduations. By the way, didn't we have a civil rights movement? Didn't we have an issue where segregation was termed illegal? The idea of separate but equal was thrown out the door. And yet, at Boise State University, in the beautiful state of Idaho, in the capital city of Idaho, you've got separate graduations for people because they don't feel included. Well, how can you feel included if you're segregating yourself, if you're self-segregating yourself, right? You don't want to be a part of the mainstream, so therefore you create your own subgroup. How does that better that individual for work in society? Are they going to say, I'm only going to work at a rainbow building? I'm only going to work at this, insert your favorite ethnic group building? That's not the America that we grew up in. That's not the America that you grew up in. And yet here you have Dr. Trump say, I want to meet with these people. I certainly hope these lawmakers say, look, you've got some issues here, Dr. Trump. You just got here. But please don't try to explain to me how these quote-unquote diversifications things are betterment. How does, and by the way, I'd love to hear from you, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. And look, we're having a respectful conversation here. Tell me how having separate graduation ceremonies, having separate specialized funding programs makes Boise State more inclusive. Now, again, it would be great to talk about Coach Harsin, local product who's done very well. Hey, Florida State's coming down the hall. Oh, that's great. Wonderful. But if you're sending your kid to this institution, by the way, please justify how tuition has gone up for these special programs that, in my opinion, do not reflect Idaho values. You know, that's what we do in the private sector. And Dave Petzo and I talk about this a lot. You have to prove yourself. You know, there's a great thing, and whether it's our friend Dave Tester or Grant Cardone or whomever, you know, no one is going to make the deals for you but yourself. You have to ask. You have to sell. You have to justify. And is that out of the ordinary to ask the university president, hey, please justify this, ma'am? Instead of saying, well, I'm going to tell these folks. No, not at all. More from Channel 6.
Mentioned in that letter was Boise State's support for multicultural student events, including rainbow graduations and black graduations.
I think when you start talking race, then that creates a separation.
President Trump says that isn't the purpose of those multicultural events. One commencement ceremony is held for all students. She says those extra events are meant to help minority students feel a greater sense of community.
Well, how can they feel a greater sense of community when they're not involved in the whole process? And then I'm going to have one graduation, then I'm going to have another graduation. And oh, by the way, what does that cost? And remember, Dr. Trump was not involved in this, but she's defending it. See, she could have come in and said, look, I'm going to look at these things. I'm going to take a close look at this, and we're going to evaluate and see if there's a benefit. We'll talk to the students. We'll talk to the people that pay, whether it's the parents or whomever. Let's have a discussion. But already defending this. And maybe that's Dr. Trump's position. Look, she's achieved a lot more than most people with a PhD, and obviously she knows the territory. She's meeting with the press. She's meeting with legislators. But you have, and God bless these conservative Idaho lawmakers that say, look, we're concerned about this stuff. And by the way, now a lot of people say, well, Kevin Miller, what's the harm in the rainbow graduation? What's the harm in the quote-unquote black graduation? What's the harm in the Asian graduation? What's the harm in the Hispanic graduation? Have a heart, Kevin Miller. Quit being so crusty and old and this, that, and the other. And I'm saying to myself, isn't the idea of America the melting pot as opposed to the salad bowl? You know, the salad bowl where you have lettuce, onions, and tomatoes, and it kind of mixes up, it kind of doesn't. Where a melting pot, everybody comes together and forms the same sauce. So, again, the president of the university has to answer to these lawmakers. And as I was looking over, if the legislative agenda for, I think, all of us, and please add your thoughts, repealing the grocery tax, finding a way to save people from being kicked out of their homes because of the taxation, and number 3, asking these universities to justify the University of Idaho president making over $400,000, Dr. Trump making more than Dr. Custer did, over $400,000. How many people actually make over $400,000 in a nonprofit? Isn't a college a nonprofit? It always used to drive me crazy because I worked my way through school. I had help at the end. My parents worked very hard. But, you know, they had things to do. They didn't pay my way. They helped me at the end. I was very blessed. I lived with my relatives. I worked at a mall. I did all these things. You know how it is. I didn't have any student loan debt. But these kids that come in and all of a sudden, boom, 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 please tell me, with all due respect, because I don't want to be labeled a right-wing extremist, maybe off the air, How in the world you can justify $450 or $480 or whatever it is, over $400,000 to a nonprofit educational university? Well, we're building things. Okay, then be efficient, please. Don't raise my kids' tuition. Be efficient, please. Cut some cost. Be efficient, please. Don't raise the tuition 5, 6, 8%. If you're telling me so many people are coming in, okay, here's another one. And I know this from people on the inside at Boise State. They get phone calls from people from California all the time. And there's nothing wrong with people from California. They make a lot of money. And they say, well, what about housing? My kid is just, I'm going to buy my kid a house. Well, that's easier said than that. No, it is. And I've got a lot of money. And then we're going to rent it out. So I don't really have to worry about housing. So up the tuition. Boise State University, with all due respect, is in Boise, Idaho. So the people in Idaho should come first. That's another question for Dr. Trump. And maybe the folks that interviewed her at, Channel 7, Channel 6, or 9, whatever you prefer. I don't know what channel it is. Or Channel 2 would hit them with those questions. Terry, good morning. You're on with Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Hello, Terry.
Good morning, Kevin. It's been a long time since I called in, but I actually agreed with you this morning on a subject which is very, very...
It's rare.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
This multicultural graduation deal, dude, that's total BS. How much money is that costing? I mean, I caught just a little bit of it. How much money is that costing us?
Enough to continue to raise tuition. I don't have the exact details, but again, that's what the lawmakers are saying. Look, this is costing money. We need to put an end to it.
Yeah, I mean, come on, dude. What if they had a whites-only graduation? No. One graduation, everybody that graduates. Now, if the Hispanic Cultural Society wants to hold their little party at their own expense, and they want to rent out a space at the college to do it, then okay, fine. But do it at their expense, not the taxpayers, dude. I mean, inclusion is everybody at one, not, have it separate. So that's the one thing I do agree with you on.
Well, see, we're bringing people together, Terry. Who would have thought?
Yeah. Well, not very often, but sometimes.
Now, before long, you'll be digging President Trump.
You're pushing the envelope. Very, very much. I love you guys. Bye.
We love you, Terry. Good call. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. These are questions, though, that need to be answered, and hopefully we'll get it. We'd love to hear what you have to say concerning the future of many universities. Do you trust them to educate your kids? Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio.
We have one Boise State commencement, but there are celebrations for departments and for clubs and for many, many ways in which students affiliate.
Another concern from those lawmakers is that money from the state is being spent to fund some of these diversity efforts at Boise State.
More coming up in a minute. Let's go to Bonnie in Boise with Kevin Miller. Bonnie, good morning.
Hi, Kevin. How are you this morning?
Good to hear from you, Bonnie. I'm okay. You?
Yeah, fine. You hit on a nerve with this one because here we are talking about diversity, and the university has less than a 40% graduation rate. Now, why is that? And they're all worried about getting these kids, the diversity group through, which isn't it a little just like affirmative action? They have special counselors. That's not the only cost from what I read. They have special counselors for these groups to keep them going so they don't stop. Whereas, the average kid doesn't have that, who's paying probably full tuition and racking up a lot of debt. So why do we have less than a 40% graduation rate? That should be her top priority, as well as improving the quality of the university and graduate programs so it has better recognition and not just for football, which, of course, I think is humorous, to be quite honest. But I think she's missing the boat. I think she's an idiot, personally. And when I read all their resumes and all the comments they made, there was only one person who commented on improving the quality of the school, on improving graduate programs. And, of course, he was an engineer and he wasn't picked. So because they needed a woman, right? I guess. I'm glad she's a woman, but, you know.
Well,
she can transition, can't she?
I think Bonnie, you're right. And in the private sector, if you're failing your students, if you're failing your customers, you retool, maybe you give them a price break. And if only 40% of the kids are graduating, then we should be cutting tuition, not raising it.
I agree completely. And we need to find out, what the problems are. Is school such poor quality that it doesn't answer their needs? I mean, I don't know. I have no idea. I know one person who dropped out, who has a job, who's making decent money, and who said it was too. He has, still has debt to pay. He quit after 2 years, and he'll never go back. That's what he said. He said it was worthless. That was his comment. So. He repeated things that he already had in high school. So I'm just wondering how many students really feel this way. And if she is embarking kind of up the wrong tree, diversity tree. I mean, I think it's wonderful. I don't have anything wrong with diversity. But at the same time, we need to be inclusive. And I don't see that with diversity. I mean, I really don't. So, I want to be inclusive, not exclusive, which is what this is to me. Okay? And if you want to add anything to what I said or comment more on it?
I think you did a great job. Thank you, Bonnie.
Oh, all right. Okay. Nice talking with you. Talk to you later.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Traffic and weather together, KIDO Talk Radio. And back to your phone calls. Steve in Meridian, good morning.
Hey, Kevin, good morning. Thanks for bringing up the topic about the new BSU president. I appreciate it.
You're quite welcome. Go ahead, please.
I love the last caller, Bonnie, man. She made some really strong points. I admit, living in Meridian, my kids are not of college age, and there's a lot going on in life, so I wasn't even aware there was a new president. But having heard that this morning and looked up details about this person, I'm really disturbed. And I'm glad she only has a 3-year contract because I already want her out within 3 years. It's a shame that people have to make this about gender because it's not about gender. There are many times when a qualified man is not the best choice, so have a qualified woman. That's not the issue. The issue is she's got the wrong frame of mind as to how to improve quality of life for the students and the community and the experience. And I wholeheartedly agree that when you emphasize a handful of, AKA a minority, what you're basically doing in catering to such people with excessive attention relative to how you give other students attention is you're not helping them. It doesn't matter what your skin color is. Let's get over it, people. Let's move on and realize what our achievements are despite your circumstances. And when you start to do that and emphasize that, you unify people. And it's a real tragedy. And I'll be honest, man, looking at this person, she's got like 20 different earrings in one ear. I mean, that's kind of extreme. I mean, I'm not saying you have to be your cookie cutter, conservative person, but when you're a woman and you have over 20 earrings in one ear, you're already really weird, to be honest. I'm not going to let my daughter have 20 earrings in her ear. And little things like that physically and her emphasis on diversity over the larger looming issues in the university, as a resident of this state who cares about the local university, I'm from Colorado originally, which has sadly become liberal too, is I see the sad state of affairs where this state is losing ground on common sense and Christian principles and on what made this state great in the first place.